Time is a river flowing in one direction, or so we think. But what if we could dip our hands into its currents and pull out a different reality? A reality where the stars told a different story, where the heavens bore the hammer and sickle instead of the stars and stripes. Welcome, dear viewers, to The Tale Keepers, a series where we explore the roads not taken. Today we ask, what if Russia had won the space race? And not just won it, what if that victory shaped the next 100 years of human history? In our timeline, the space race was a fierce competition between two superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union. While the US ultimately claimed victory with the Apollo 11 moon landing in 1969, let's imagine a world where the USSR crossed the finish line first. What would that world look like? And how would it evolve over the next century? Let's find out. Picture this: July 1969. The world holds its breath as a Soviet cosmonaut steps onto the lunar surface. His voice crackles over the radio. The moon is now a territory of the Soviet Union. The crowd in Moscow erupts in cheers, while in Washington, D.C., there's only stunned silence. The USSR has won the space race. This single moment would have sent shockwaves through history. The Soviet Union, already a symbol of communist strength, would have become an undisputed leader of space exploration. But what would that mean for the rest of the world? And how would this victory ripple through the decades to come? In the 1970s and 1980s, the Soviet Union would have leveraged its space dominance to solidify its global influence. A Soviet moon landing would have been a massive propaganda victory, proving the superiority of communism over capitalism. Countries on the fence during the Cold War might have leaned toward the USSR expanding its global influence. Imagine a world where Africa, Southeast Asia, and Latin America saw the Soviet Union as the beacon of progress. The US, humiliated, might have responded with even greater military spending, escalating the Cold War to new heights. But the Soviets wouldn't stop at the moon. By the 1980s, they might have established a permanent lunar base, Zvezda Luna, as a symbol of their enduring power. Meanwhile, the US would have been forced to play catch-up. NASA might have shifted its focus to Mars, hoping to outpace the Soviets in the next frontier. But with the USSR's head start, the 1980s could have seen the first Soviet missions to the Red Planet, further cementing their dominance. By the 1990s, the world would have entered a new space age, one dominated by the Soviet Union. With a thriving lunar colony and early Mars missions, the USSR might have begun exporting its space technology to allied nations, creating a Soviet-led space alliance. Countries like Cuba, Vietnam, and India might have sent their own cosmonauts to the moon, trained in Soviet facilities. The International Space Station, as we know it, might never have existed. Instead, we could have seen the Soyuz orbital complex, a massive space station serving as a hub for Soviet-aligned nations. Pop culture would have been transformed. Instead of Star Trek and Star Wars, we might have had Red Star and cosmic collectivism. Space-themed media would have celebrated the triumph of the collective over the individual, with cosmonauts as the ultimate heroes. As the 21st century dawned, the Soviet Union would have solidified its position as the world's first space superpower. With lunar mining operations and early Mars colonies, the USSR could have controlled access to valuable extraterrestrial resources, giving it an economic edge. By the 2010s, the first permanent Martian colony, Krasnaya Planeta, might have been established. This would have been a monumental achievement, but it would also have raised questions about the ethics of space colonization. Would the Soviets share their discoveries with the world, or hoard them for themselves? Meanwhile, the US and its allies would have been forced to innovate in other areas, such as asteroid mining or advanced robotics, to compete. The space race might have evolved into a race for the solar system, with the USSR leading the charge. Fast forward to the 22nd century. In this alternate timeline, the Soviet Union's early dominance in space would have shaped humanity's future in profound ways. By 2100, the USSR could have established colonies, not just on the Moon and Mars, but also Europa, Titan, and even in the asteroid belt. These colonies would have been powered by Soviet technology, with a focus on collective labor and state control. Private space companies like SpaceX might never have emerged. Instead, space exploration would have remained a government-led endeavor, with the USSR at the helm. But what about beyond our solar system? By the 22nd century, the Soviets might have launched the first interstellar probes, seeking new worlds to colonize. The dream of reaching Alpha Centauri could have become a reality, with Soviet cosmonauts leading the way. So what do you think? Would a Soviet victory in the space race have been a triumph for humanity, or a disaster? How would the next 100 years have unfolded in this alternate timeline? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this journey through the corridors of time, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more stories from the Tale Keepers. Until next time, keep dreaming of the stars and the roads not taken.